Hey there, sweet friends. I hope you're well. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. We're going to be working on our Relax and Craft card today. This is a Thanksgiving or fall card, but I have switched out the traditional colors for a softer, more shabby palette. And so I think this is absolutely beautiful. And because we didn't add a sentiment to it, this is going to be a perfect card to display all through the fall season. And so I will show you all the dies that we're going to work with first, and then we'll work on assembling that. And I will let you know right now, you may hear a cricket in the background because we seem to have one in our storage room, and so I don't know if you can hear it, but it is quite loud. And so everybody say hi to our guest star there, cricket in the basement. Okay, so let's get started. Before we get started assembling that card, I did just want to share with you the die sets that I'll be using. And so first, I do have this Paper Tray Ink Pumpkin House die set, and for our card today, I'm only going to be using the 3 sections that create the pumpkin, and then there's also a piece that will create the stem. I'm also going to be using my Lawn Fawn stitched leaves. I have this die that I picked up from Amazon, and I did try to find it, but I wasn't able to find a current link for it. But I think if you have one that's similar, it would definitely work. Or if you have a window frame, I think that would be perfect as a substitution for this. And then I did pick up this die set. This is a KS Craft, and it's the Big Ghost tag, and it also comes with this little box for making a 3D project, and I do love it. It came quite a lot bigger than what I was expecting, and that's on me. I'm not very good at checking measurements when I order things, but it did have a really sweet little bow that had a stitch detail, so I'm going to snag that from here, and then we'll have to wait for later for a project with the rest of this die set. And I did mention those spacers, and so I'm going to be utilizing the thin 3D foam squares for this. I do like to have the dimension, but this is not quite as thick, and so it's not going to be as bulky. When I get to the part where we have that pumpkin, I am going to be inking the edge, and I'm just choosing this Distress ink in pumice stone, and I think it has a very pretty effect on here. It's not as dark as the black would be, so I think this is a good choice for that. And so I did just cut this from an off-white sheet of paper and then use that inking to develop some depth and dimension. So let's go ahead and assemble our card. So I'm going to be using that rectangle die with the cutouts, and I have added a layer of vellum behind it because I do want to have the details from that beautiful pattern paper showing through. And so this is just a way to kind of neutralize a portion of it, sort of similar to how we put on our doilies. But for this one, I am going to have to utilize just my Tombow because this vellum does not stick too well to paper with the double-sided adhesive. So now that I've got all of that die cut foliage added, I do want to have a quick discussion about this bow. And so I did decide that I thought I would want something as a little bit of an accent here. And I knew that because we have all those large leaves that I didn't want to put flowers. So I thought I would substitute that bow from that KS Craft set. And so initially I thought I would want it to be up here. And it did seem to be a little bit high for these tails. And so that would create a problem with the depth. And then I also questioned whether or not I might like to have this beautiful kind of a light orange. I think that would have worked well as a substitute. And then also this beautiful kind of cinnamon color still in the cardstock with the glitter. But because I used this charcoal gray, I didn't think that was going to match as well as I hoped. So I went back to the original bow, and then I thought if I could divide this into two sections, and then I could add those tails to the lower area and then the top to the top of the pump. And then I could add the top to the bottom of the pumpkin, and that way that would save me from having that much of a difference in the depth of those layers. So let's just go ahead and clip this here. And then I'll add this to underneath of the pumpkin. And so you could see as I went along, I kind of balanced each of those style of leaves. And then I did pick some beautiful neutral papers. And so that keeps with our softer, more shabby chic look. So let's go ahead and add this tail from our bow underneath. I'm just gonna put that right there. And now I know that that will be well supported underneath. So let's just go ahead and add our pumpkin now. And for this first layer that is attached to the card base, I just have some of the double-sided adhesive, and I'll put my Tombow on there as well, but I didn't want an additional spacer for that one. I think you could make this without the spacers between, and that would be beautiful as well. So let's just go ahead and plonk that on there. I absolutely love this more softer shabby chic palette. And this is beautiful for all of fall, not just Thanksgiving, I think. And because we haven't put a sentiment on it, we haven't really locked ourselves into a time frame. And so I think that works pretty well. And so now let's put the top of the bow on the bottom of the pumpkin. And you see how that will actually be a better scale, I think, for that and help us with those layers. Just want to make sure to get that right down to the bottom and press that into place. So I did bring a couple of sequins down, and I think what I want to do is add them up here so that I can kind of balance a little bit of that sparkly detail up to the top. So of course I do want to continue working with my Tombow for that. That cricket sure does seem to have a lot to say. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but it's still going. If I could find it, I would put it outside, but I'm not about to tear up the storage room just to find him. So I wish him well, and I hope he finds his way home. So that's going to be all for our project today. I sure do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Check in the description for links. I'll have the die sets here. And if you can think of a substitute for the one with the frame, then you can drop that in the comments as well. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.